Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ghost Historian and a very special show. And I mean, a show like we have never done before. Now, I understand your confusion, thinking, well, but hang on, Alan's just sitting in the blah seat. Oh, we have a show for you. A show that involves death, war, 6 million dead. Yeah, this has the potential. I don't know which way it's going to go. And frankly, I'm the only person in the team that doesn't, because I am being joined across the sea in Old Town Limassol in Cyprus. So there we have Hollywood McShane and Pablo. Now,
hello.
Hello, you two. The pair of you have just enjoyed a fantastic meal that I'm very jealous of that cost them only 20 euros, which is ridiculous. However, the first thing you said to me was that all those weeks and months ago, when I was out doing a ghost hunt on my own, you said, wouldn't it be different if I did a ghost hunt on my own? Now, technically not on your own, because you're a dynamic duo tonight.
Yeah. He's never been on one before, though.
No, I know that, and that's the thing. So Pabs has never been, we go to scary places all the time. Pabs never has. So this is going to be an interesting mix. Now, the place we decided to send them to is a haunted hospital that's up in the hills. Now, most of that I think we're going to be playing in the second half. But while we've got you, how was it? I mean, what did you get up there?
Well, we didn't really know what we're going into, and I don't think we wanted to know the full history of the place because, I've seen the pictures online, and it was right in the middle. I've put the map on behind you. It's kind of right in the middle of Cyprus, in amongst the hills. There was snow up there. We could only get there by day. There's only 3 buses a day there, and that's only to the town next to it, isn't it? So right.
So you've had to climb every mountain and ford every stream.
We got there. We thought we'd be committed.
Was it as bad as everybody said?
It was. Yeah. I would say, it was worse. It was the fact that it was just so difficult to get up there. First of all, it was 3 buses, but also even the taxi driver was a little bit, okay, how shall I take you up there? Shall I not take you up there? Tell you, shut up. Then once we were there, since we didn't have a clue, but you could really, really sense the difference, both from the village and then the walk up to the to where we were going. So you could really, really tell. So
the place is said to have a really horrifying atmosphere that you can kind of feel. And some people say that you can almost feel the panic and the pain and the health issues that an awful lot of people had there. Did either of you guys get any of that?
You could feel a dark something there. And just by looking at the walls, welcome to hell, someone had written on, just the things people had written on there as well. And we found the morgue, we found where the cremated people, I felt like I was eating dust at one, human ash at one point.
And like Tony was saying, it felt, because we were in the warm weather, but as soon as we entered, it was another type of coldness, like you said, that it went through the bones, and especially when we were walking around the different rooms down to the basement as well, you could really. And then as soon as you step out, it was warm again. It felt so. It was really through the chilling bones, like you said. So.
Oh,
right.
We heard a few. I heard voices. I mean, I'll not give it all away, but
right.
And I used the new thing that you see at Necromancer. I used something else, and I got things near the cremation part saying burn, and it was. Oh, I've got shivers down my spine thinking of it. No, it was like that.
There were also times when I got lost, and you can probably hear it when I was screaming after Tony, because I could hear things. And I thought it was Tony, but of course, so yeah.
So
honestly,
so lots to look forward to
at night. It would be great to do at night, but I don't think it's possible to get there. Would get lost. It was snow coming down.
Yeah.
Was just, yeah.
In a foreign land as well.
I didn't realize there was snow here.
No, there's going to be snow apparently from Saturday in Britain, but just the thought that there was any snow in Cyprus is a bit of a shock.
I know.
But you've got Mount Olympus there, so it's the home of the gods. They can do what they like up there. Now, you've been to two other places as well. We're going to be taking a look at them. One is a haunted beach, and I've got the full story of that I'll be able to tell everybody from here while you're doing the walk. And you've also visited a castle that's got amazing stories about English kings.
And also the skeleton of I think it was a soldier between 20 and 30. He was headless. Someone had chopped his hands off and legs.
He was found. It was like 500-600 years ago. He was found in ruins, and then you could tell that he was decapitated, but also decapitated his hands. So he's really he died a really violent death.
And that's,
really violent death. So.
Violent death, but that's actually he's on display there as well. Wow. So it's amazing. The castle. It doesn't look anything from the outside, but when you go in, honestly, it's such a like the tombs in there. You'll see how amazing it is.
And also, it's the home of Knights Templars, Knights Hospitallers. It's where the Knights Templars were massacred. I mean, it's got a fair bit of history, and Richard the Lionheart to top it all. So, lads, off you go. They've been working all day to get the show that you're going to be watching tonight. This time, I'm kind of behind the camera, but I'll get you the key stories of the places they're going. So thanks a lot for all your hard work. It's been literally hours and hours and hours of graft and travel today.
It took a while to get back down. And I can't wait to hear the stories. I'm glad I didn't know them beforehand, though, because it might have worked a bit. But...
Exactly, yeah.
So what was it like for your first ghost hunt then, Pabs?
Say it again?
What was your first ghost hunt like then? Now you've been on one.
I said to Tony, I said it was good that we didn't go through that we weren't allowed to go up to the night time, because I wouldn't have gone up there. It was enough how it was today. Trust me on that one. Trust me.
It was eerie enough. But I think he would come when you're there.
Yeah.
One time we'll bring him on a nighttime hunt. He'll love it.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't see
you have to be prepared for my screams and for what I'm about to see. So
yeah.
It's food and drink to us, Pabs. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a lovely night.
Enjoy.
I do mean that. I do. Really.
Bye-bye. How about that? So, shall we begin? Now, we're first of all diving in to a haunted beach. And this is not too far away from Limassol itself. It's actually called Limassol Beach, although they've got about 30 different names of different beaches. Now, let's dive in. As I said, we said this was going to be very, very different. It absolutely is. Now the city that you can see in the background and actually just away from the beach was founded in 1100 BC. There's been people living and eating from the sea, feeding themselves from the sea since 8000 BC. That's 10,000 years ago. Richard the Lionheart married his bride, Berengaria. Now, the full story was that a storm shipwrecked her on Limassol. A storm off this very coast that you can see now with the various tourist boats in the distance. She was shipwrecked here, along with Richard the Lionheart's sister. And what's a good name for a king's sister? You'll never guess. Joan. Richard's sister was called Joan. She was grabbed by the governor of Limassol, who recognised her as Berengaria, who at the time was the daughter of the King of Navarre. So thought he would sell her back to him for make a profit. However, the ship she was on managed to do a quick repair and get the hell out. It's weird because the ghosts on... Oh, look! You see that? Oh, that was interesting. Literally where that outcrop of land is, there was just something white, just briefly there. Oh, that was cool. And that was interesting too. Now, I don't deny that there are members of the public on the paths, but as you can see, there's only one shadow there. That man's carrying a camera. Richard the Lionheart heard about what had happened to Berengaria, who he liked, fancied a bit. This is the haunted stretch of the beach, so do keep your eyes open for any things that you may see. When Richard heard what had happened to Berengaria, he came back and he conquered the island and killed several thousand Cypriot Greeks at the time. Went up against a small army of the governor who had tried to kidnap her. Experienced crusaders like the ones that Richard had, who fought in 3 separate crusades. They were easily better than the small army of the governor's troops. And the history of the day wrote what happened here on this very beach. What the hell is that? Who is it? Anyway, what they wrote at the time was the holy warriors, the crusaders, and they weren't that holy, they massacred men, women and children, but the holy warriors cut through the foe, leaving a sea of dead as we watched their departing souls leave their bodies. Now, there's a thing that we've talked about a few times called trepanning. It's when somebody drills a hole in somebody's head who is ill or mentally ill, and if they're not mentally ill before, it will be when you're finished. They bore a hole in your head, and when they remove the drill after they've burst through the skull, you see a lot of steam coming out of the brain, because inside the machine that is our body, it's red hot. It's not red hot, but it's very, very hot. It's warm. And the steam comes out, and they used to say when they were trepanning that was the spirit of the demon leaving the body. Well, in the same way, the bodies of the dead lying on this beach, all cut open, there was a steam coming out of their bodies. And they believed that, being the Knights of Christ, that they'd done a great thing, because look, all the demons are leaving the bodies of these evil. What the hell was that? Did you see that bright light? What was that in the distance? I mean, it's not raining or anything. Oh, that looked weird. Just seen something completely unnatural in the distance. I hope you caught that. Anyway, King Richard right here took his bride, made her Queen of England, even though Berengaria never, not once in her... Oh, there must be an electric storm in the distance. That's amazing. Oh, well, cool too. Berengaria never ever came to England. You've got to remember, Richard the Lionheart was French. Richard Coeur de Lion. Richard the Lionheart. He spent most of his life in France, but once he conquered England, he spent a fair bit of time there too. The Crusades killed over 6 million people, mostly Muslim, because the church wanted to take Jerusalem, being a holy place, and wanted to completely convert the Middle East into Christendom. In other words, if you won't become a Christian, we'll kill you. There is a book somewhere that says, "Forgive them their trespasses," but Christians will never listen to that. It was violent, it was bloody. Entire cities of old men and children, all of the young men away fighting, but they'd killed them all anyway. Richard ended up, long story short, getting captured by the Austrians. Anybody that's ever watched a Robin Hood film know that. It's looking into the blackness that we must do. This really is incredible. Anyway, he was fighting. He got a crossbow bolt in his shoulder. Shouldn't have killed him. It turned gangrenous, and he died. And he was shot by a cook who just happened to be there next to where the crossbow archers were firing. He died. We took his body back to France. He died in the arms of his own mother, Eleanor of Aquitaine. His heart's buried in Rouen, his entrails in Chalice, where he died, his body in Anjou. And this is the beach where they say you see the king's ghost. Is that him sitting on a rock at the end? Is that a person? Look. Is that a person? The king walking the beach, dressed in a tunic with the 3 royal lions apparently. Look at the flashes of this. Now it's a modern day ghost story from September of last year. Something that happened here. A 55-year-old man, Thanasis Kalogeropoulos, came down to the beach for his daily swim at 8 o'clock in the morning. He was parking his car on the seafront. You can see just up behind the shot when 2 men in hoods fired at him from another car, then jumped out of the car, peppering him with bullets. They escaped, torched the car, dumped a pistol and an automatic rifle in a field, leaving their victim bleeding out. He was shot 10 times in the head and chest. A gangland killing, apparently. 1 day later, there was a revenge killing of another gang boss. But since September of last year, right here on this very beach, over 60 sightings of a stout, hairy man in Speedos. Some people say they just see a dark figure moving past. A stout, hairy man in Speedos. If you had to picture a ghost in your head, that's not what you would look at. Not remotely. Some say he was see-through. Others say he quickly disappears. A man called Philo from Andreas Surf Shop, just along from here, said, "I knew Thanasis, yet I see him swimming more now he is dead." He sighted him 11 times himself on this beach at 8 o'clock in the morning, walking past tourists, stepping into that sea, the sea that's right in front of him. Another tourist said that at dusk a man in trunks walked through them. The most recent sighting was around this time of night in early January of this year. A police officer saw a man walking from the road, but he was see-through, so he kind of followed him. And the figure walked into the sea and just disappeared. So, talk about spirit, talk about ghosts. That's what we've got right here. Olympus. Now, I've been to the island a good few times over the years, usually doing ghostified shows. And I made a complete pig's ear of one of my trips. Mount Olympus, right next to the hospital. If only I'd known about that hospital at the time. I decided that I wanted to go to the home of the gods. I wanted to get right on the top of that mountain. Now, on the top of the mountain, they've got those big golf ball things that you sometimes see on our hilltops. And I started driving this little tiny narrow road, and it ended up going round and round and round Mount Olympus. And there was like 500, 600 foot drop, an inch left of my wheel. And you're kind of on the road, you're sitting on the wrong side anyway, and you're looking down. It was the most bum nipping experience. It took me about 3.5 hours to get up from a main road to the top of Mount Olympus. And as soon as I got up to the top of Mount Olympus, I saw that 40 yards away on the other side of the hill, there was a motorway that went all the way to the top. You could have got up in about 25 minutes. You can trust me. I took that wheel down. And it's weird because there's something they don't tell you about visiting places like this. Because I was starving hungry, 3.5 hours driving up there. When I got up there, there's only one restaurant at the top. Back then, there was only one restaurant up at the top. And they served kind of Greek food and the occasional pizza. So I decided to have a pizza. And they didn't have any tables inside, so you have to eat at like a park table, you know, like a picnic table that they put out outside. The guy walked out, put the pizza on the table, and without a word of a lie, the second that pizza landed on the table, I couldn't see the surface of the pizza for flies. All the flies come down from the trees, essentially poo on the pizza. Yeah, because that's what they do. So that their poo can help it rot, so that they can enjoy a juicy, rotten pizza. Lovely. So you just kind of push the pizza away, keep your hand over the glass of whatever it was I was drinking, and then get in the car and beetle off to somewhere that's not quite so buggy. But amazing stories. I want to also share with you at the moment, we've got, as I say, we've got 2 more films for you, and they're great. I mean, they are tremendous. Haven't seen, the 2 that I saw was the beach and this next one where they visit the castle that's ghost related. And then I send them into this place. To be honest, maybe shouldn't really have sent them. But I wanted to share with you some of these. Now, first of all, this. Now, if you're wondering what that is, it's a place called Salamis. These are other places on Cyprus that we are not able to get to. And 1100 years BC, it was run by the Assyrians, then the Greeks, then the Persians. Each time that it changed from one to the other was massacres. A very famous sea battle, the Battle of Salamis, the Greeks versus the Persians. Alexander the Great ruled here. And when he landed, and this is an amazing place, when he landed, the first thing he did was force their king, King Nicocreon, to commit suicide. If you don't commit suicide, we'll feed you to the dogs. So he took the necessary tablets and he was gone. Then there's another place called Hylotes, Apollon Hylotes. Hylotes was a god worshipped on Cyprus. Not really a god, more a warrior. This is Hylotes, where people used to have to fight for their lives. And it's Hylotes' ghost that walks there. He built it saying that he was going to create a vision of what heaven should be. A shining, floating spirit is often seen moving through the columns. A lady called Jude Hollinger of Dubai said, "I saw this man in armor glowing, lighting up the whole area, blonde hair, holding a sword. At first I thought it must be some actor, but he was shining. And then I noticed he was floating about 3 feet off the ground. It ended up making the front page of the newspaper. And this is a part of the world where there's no end of amazing and incredible ruins. And even out in the wilds, places like this, can you imagine visiting there? The Avacus Canyon, amazing place of beauty, where the Turks were ambushed by valiant locals. They built a tower 80 feet tall with the heads of the dead Turks that they cut off. And to this day it's said that if you ever visit the place, you're met by the screams, the deathly screams of the people that were killed there. Now, if I said to you, let's meet Demetrius, you might think, well, who's he? Is he a king or something? No, this is Demetrius. It's a ship that's run aground off the coast of Limassol. You can quite often see this ship from the beach. Amazing thing to stare out at. It ran aground in 1998. The crew were rescued, but their story is that a Pakistani crew member died 8 weeks after the rescue, and ghosts often see his figure standing on the bridge of the ship. If he's not on the bridge, you will always see his image on one of the lower right-hand windows. And that's what the ship looks like. It's not going anywhere. Then there's the castle that we're going to be taking you to next, Colossi. But the images that I've got for you, just leave them alone. But I will take you here instead to one of the amazing mosaics of Kurion, a major city visited by people from Argos. Jason and the Argonauts came to this place. Can you believe it? Cyprus is amazing in every way. This is another one of those haunted places. This is the temple, a temple, and also known to this day as the Tomb of the Kings, the most haunted place. Bodies of the kings lay here from 300 years BC. The ghosts walk the tombs because grave robbers stole all their grave goods, so they can't continue their journey into the afterlife. And because of the sea air, the bodies badly and quite quickly decompose on this particular site. So the ghosts, weirdly, are often disfigured. Now that's Paphos Fort. It's on the other side of the island because Limassol's pretty much right in the middle where the guys are. We're going to be going on their next adventure in a second. This is the second castle there. The first slid into the sea after an earthquake. It was rebuilt in the 1200s. Many a battle, including when the Turks massacred everybody in the fort after 16 days of vicious fighting. 600 years later, the British chased them out when they took over the island. There is a ghost of a man called Sforza, a fierce Spanish mercenary who led the castle's defenses brilliantly. Well, I say brilliantly until he was decapitated. And we haven't even mentioned Aphrodite's Rock. If you've been to Paphos, you will have seen Aphrodite's Rock. An amazing, here it is from another angle. Excuse me. And there it actually is. Now, when the tide comes in, it's completely surrounded with water. And this was said to be where Aphrodite was born. Her mother, Agreo, asked her sons to mutilate their father, Uranus. So one of the sons, a creature called Kronos, cut off his dad's testicles, threw them into the sea, and because his tackle essentially hit the water here, Aphrodite was born. The cult of Aphrodite plagued the Romans, who eventually massacred them all by this rock. And it said the ghosts of the dead are often seen on the beach nearby, sightings by tourists all the time. And it said that anybody who swims around the rock when the tide's in will be blessed with eternal beauty. Now, just to tease you a little bit, Tony sent some pictures of the hospital mortuary. Now, he's going to be giving you a guided tour there soon, but let's look at just some of those images. How amazing are they? This is the mortuary. He only took 4 shots because he was filming. There's one of the mortuary tables with edges around it, so the blood runs into the hole that's in the centerpiece. It looks like some liquid's been rolling off the top of the table. I'd imagine that would happen if you were cutting into a human skull. Fantastic. Can't wait to get into it. So let's get into our next one. We've had Limassol Beach. Our next one is pretty special. This one, our second video file, is Limassol Castle. Now, let me warn you that while Tony was in there, hang on, I'm having difficulty grabbing it. Is that it? Yes, it's there. While he was in there, he was telling me that you were not allowed to film. Yet he filmed. So as he guides us around, probably quite quietly, I'll feel free to chip in on occasions. Okay, so I'll be with you. And here is, and I know this is daytime, and the hospital's daytime also. It's because the only chance that you got to get both of them. So let's check it out.
It's not a circus, it's actually Limassol Castle. I don't know why there's 2 clowns on the door, but yeah, it's the castle. Couldn't tell you what that is. Olive oil press reconstruction. I must have had that here back in the day. impressive. More stuff obviously just found when they excavated it. Right in the old town as well. So. I've been here for hundreds and hundreds of years, if not more. Yeah, it's a bar and that looks ancient as well, just across from the castle. Not many markings or anything on the outside. Looks like a skull. Alien skull. Look at that door. Stone catapult balls. Iron, made out of iron. Presumably fired out with these. How amazing. Tombstone. Tombstone, Limassol, 14th to 15th century AD.
is. Dead end. Oh, there is a hole. Give me light. What's that? What's down there? Ooh. I think. Oh, it's a toilet. It's got to be a toilet. Thought it would have been a cell, but no. Definitely giving off toilet vibes. There you go. It's a posh toilet for a castle. Coat of arms. There's lots of cans in here. It doesn't look as big on the outside. Ground floor. More tombstones. If you wonder what Christ looks like, apparently that's him. It's a painting of Christ. Oh, secret little tunnel down there. Let's see if I can see what's in here. Oh God. Oh my God. There you go. I can't really get in anymore. It looks like there's a tunnel all the way under there. Don't have the biggest torch. But secret tunnel, definitely. Not sure around that bit, but amazing place. Look at that. Another tombstone. God, amazing some of these. Detail. Amazing that. kids knocking around. That's why you can hear the noise. Obviously you can't get in here at night, so... 14th century tombstone of a pregnant woman. Loads of separate rooms in here. A little bit of that one missing. These are obviously cells because they've got bars at the top. Looks like a room with just cells. If you look at the bar, I think they are. Could be wrong. Look at that. Just amazing pieces. 5th century, unknown stone, unknown province. Here lies Aclina, daughter of the Bishop of Lefkara. Pray for those who read this. The best one. Definitely. That's amazing. The Last Supper. Could be another toilet, not sure what that is. It's a totally different plan than the other ones, it might not be. Down here. More tombstones. Lots of tombstones. It's huge, this place. Doesn't look it from outside. Look at this. Secret room. bronze grates. Could be a toilet.
What's the sign say? What's the sign say, Benjamin? Creating a traffic jam.
Tombstones everywhere you look. Amazing. I'd love to come in here at night. Yeah. The remains of somebody. The skeleton was found during the excavation in the Venetian walls. The head and arms and feet were missing. The finger bones of the palms of the hands were placed on the pelvis. It most probably belonged to a soldier who was mutilated. He was between 20 and 30 years old and apparently met a violent death. Poor thing. So he was found here. Locked off, can't get in there. Kind of pendulum-shaped stones, not sure what they are. Steps, no entry though. Wonder where that goes. Coat of arms. Wow, look at this one. What it took some doing. We're in the basement. just another floor. I think it's where that kid is, so sorry about that. Door. I think we're going to be able to go outside though, which is a good thing. Sorry about the noise. Yeah. Hello.
Mourinho? Yeah.
Seventh century pots.
Look at the beams. They're painted.
Double windows.
Yeah. They're beautiful. I do really like
Cell door. I think we're going to go on the roof. It's raining. It's been sunny when we came in. See the port just down there. This is a pretty impressive castle. It's huge. sure it's got some stories to tell. Another little bit. We're going further up. God, look at this. The marina. Went there earlier. See, the sun shines over there, just not here. There you go. I think that is our tour of Limassol Castle.
And that's it. So that's Tony on his own. He was very quiet. So I think, well, the thing to do is to let him take Pabs. First of all, I knew Pabs had never ever been on a ghost hunt. Didn't know whether he believed, whether he disbelieved, because it doesn't matter. Because I want genuine responses. And I thought he's more likely to chat because he's designed to be behind the camera saying little or nothing. I've always got to say, did you see that, Tony? To elicit some kind of response. So I thought if he took Pabs with him, we'd stand a better chance. So we're now entering part 2 of our show. And it is, of course, the trip. It's kind of a dirty trick. It is. It's Amiantos Miners Hospital. It's known on Cyprus as the Poisonous Tombs. It was abandoned because it used to be an asbestos mine. Yet the people who worked there and the women that worked there, the women died. Anybody married to a man that worked there also died. Their children died of a slow poisoning, persistent coughing, chest pain, extreme tiredness, difficulty breathing, and then ultimately death. Most of them would end up dying of lung cancer, even though back in the early days they didn't call it that. And it was lung cancer directly caused by asbestos. They literally ran away from this place in 1986. They abandoned it. The derelict buildings, nowadays said to be harboring the spirits of entire families that had been wiped out by this awful substance that some of you will have in your Artex. This is why you leave it alone and paint over it. Don't move it, otherwise the asbestos comes out. Apparently this is the place you're going to see in a second. There are 3 ghost nurses often seen. People also often hear a woman giving birth. You hear her screaming as the baby comes out, and then you hear her screaming in the most horrible way because this constant repetition of birth that she goes back through again in spirit, she gives birth to a stillborn child. And all because she was married to a miner. She spent no time in the mine. She just had sex with her husband, kissed her husband, spent time around her husband, cleaned his clothes. And she and her unborn child paid the penalty. There's a ghost of a strange limping little boy aged about 6, his leg in a plaster cast. He's been seen over 1,000 sightings in over 100 years. That's a lot. They processed over 1 million tons of asbestos fibre in this place every single year. Now, Tony was mentioning, oh, it was snowing up there. Now, I don't doubt at the top of Mount Olympus they do get snow at the very highest of mountains. But in my research, they say this: the area often looks like it's covered in snow. That's not snow, it's asbestos dust. The houses nearby, the shops, the hospital, the hillside, farms, there's a lake and a river that are both utterly polluted. No fish in the river, no fish in the lake. That deadly powder is the hospital's curse. Years and years on, after 1986, when the whole place was pulled apart, people keen to make a few quid went into the hospital to take out all of the heavy machinery. They had a lot of kit, a lot of medical gadgets, x-rays, chairs that moved up and down in beds and such. And a lot of those were ripped out and they were sold for scrap. And the people that took them out, because if you spend more than 6 hours, you're in danger. More than 6 hours, which is why I told Tony to get out of there in one. Those that took all of the machinery, sometimes taking them 5 and 6 hours just to get something freed and carried onto the back of the van, those people died. A lot of the bodies of those people who died could not be cremated because they're covered with asbestos. They wouldn't burn. They had to be buried. One of the most regularly seen ghosts in the place you're about to see is called Anne. She was a nurse who came from the UK to work in Cyprus, try and help them out. And she came to the hospital. She worked there for 11 years and she died of lung cancer in 1936, aged 38. Now, this lady's ghost, because you're going to be looking for her here, she's often seen standing in the corners of wards or peering around walls, and you just see the tip of her head peering around the wall. Sometimes you hear her shout. She also sometimes bangs metal or bangs on the wall to try and attract your attention. She'd just literally a few weeks before she died, she'd become engaged to the main foreman. And a lot of people believe it was through kissing and having sex with him had literally killed her. She'd been loved to death. The place is said to be safe, provided you get out there before you've had 5 or 6 hours in there. The government can't put that amount of damage right. So let's get to it. This is Tony and Pab's adventure. It's so weird for me sitting out of this because I'd love to be there. I got other stuff cooking, otherwise I would have been. But he wanted to do a ghost hunt on his own. Happy to let him. Let's see whether the boy done good. Let's get that one. Now there's a certain process you have to go through. Let's try again. No, that's not it. Oh dear, had this trouble the last time. Bear with me a second. Got him. Okay, this is Tony and Pablo. Pablo's first ever ghost hunt, and the first one that Tony's ever done on his own. Now, I know it's during the day, but the hospital that I've just described to you is where he is, in the middle, literally, in the dead center of Cyprus, right next to Mount Olympus. Let's dance.